Welcome to the Swedish Gaming Dudes. My name is Johan.
And I am John.
And today we have a guest with us. Will you introduce yourself?
Justin.
Justin, welcome Justin.
Welcome,
you so
Justin.
Thank you.
Great to have you here, a fellow gamer enthusiast.
You could say that, yes.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, and today we are going to talk about game preservation and game emulation and all in between, right, John?
Yeah, pretty much. So the gaming emulation walks hand in hand on a, should we say, counter object subject called, well, I would say it as gaming on original hardware.
Yeah.
So it's pretty much the opposite of emulation in a way, one might say.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's really interesting. So, but before we get into that, I'm just wondering, like, are you guys playing anything special that you would like to recommend to our listeners?
Baldur's Gate 3.
Oh, yeah.
I'm 150, 200 hours in.
Oh,
my
nice.
third, fourth playthrough. Since I'm a big Dungeons and Dragons nerd as well, it ties in like two of my favorite hobbies tied together in one just awesome experience. I don't know how to describe it. Very story-driven game.
Awesome.
Yeah,
so
that's good.
I can highly recommend that.
Yeah, cool. Are you playing on PC, I guess?
PlayStation 5.
PlayStation 5. Ah, cool. Yeah, I've actually bought that this Christmas, I think. Still going to continue it, but I really enjoyed it. I miss those story-driven RPGs, as you say. Like, it's going back to sort of old school combined with new technology and graphic. It's a very good game, I've been playing sort of a retro-style game, F-Zero 99 on the Switch. It's like this F-Zero game, you know, from the Super Nintendo, but it's like this battle royale. So you start with 99 players at the same time on the track, and then you just, you know, rank out and you try to fight your way to the top. And it's very addicting. I just tried it a little bit. It's so addicting, just racing in this 16-bit style graphic and all those players online. It's very, very good, actually. Yeah, super cool game. It's free, I think, on the Switch as well. So, yeah.
Oh,
top recommendation. Yeah.
Awesome.
John, what have you been playing?
So I was getting into this game, for many hours. It feels like Enter the Gungeon. It's called. It's a PS4 game and maybe even Xbox One. Yeah. And it just felt like, it's one of those kind of. Is it called roguelikes or roguelite?
Yeah. Roguelike. Yeah.
Roguelikes. Okay.
Yeah.
So it's one of those kinds of games. And I do kind of like the genre, but this game, it just feels like, even though I've been playing for hours and killed many enemies, gone further into the game, it still feels like I'm at a stalemate where it's not really getting anywhere.
Okay.
So each playthrough just feels like, okay, it's separate kinds of matches, but they're not really connected progression-wise. So it's very frustrating in that way. So I just stopped playing that game recently, and I just tried to get into the game called Ghostwire Tokyo.
Oh.
And I really don't know much about the game, and I'm just going to try it out, see if it was a good purchase. Like, I had it for almost 2 years now.
Okay.
It's one of those library fillers.
Yeah,
exactly.
Dig into the backlog.
Yeah.
I have 600 games. How many have you played? 3.
Oh yeah, that's so funny.
I totally know that feeling. Yeah.
All right. Yeah. So, getting to the topic at hand, I'm thinking, like, Ewan, what is your preferred take on games? Would you collect games digitally or physically?
Oh, I've started to buy games more digitally today than before, but I think that's a couple of reasons why I do that. Is because it's an easier way to get the game early. You get it, like, you can download it, pre-download the game to get it, on day one when you start playing the game, and you don't have to worry about the disc or anything like that. I think it's convenient in that way. So for now, my preferred way is digital, but it can also have to do with the console. If you play a lot on the Switch, which you have on the go, I think it's easier not to have a small cartridge, for example. You just install the games on the hardware. So you don't have to worry about taking games with you. You always have the best, at least installed, if you expand the memory on it. But I'm more digital, but I feel like things are changing with the digital and the physical media today, because even if you buy games today physically, you have to be online for some of them, even just to start the game. So I'm not sure about that, the boundaries between what the concept is today, because it feels like the game producers want us to buy them digitally and doesn't want to give the disc and everything like that. It's shifting, I feel, and they're talking about releasing which you have consoles without disc players, for example, only digital versions, PS5 or Xbox without the disc player. So yeah, I don't like the way the things are going in the business. I think you should be able to choose if you want to have it physical or digitally. But just trying to shape the way you play games today from a business side, and I'm not in favor of that. So as a whole, I'm more in favor the way things are now, that you have a physical disc and you can play it wherever you want, whenever you want.
Yeah,
I think so.
I totally get it, and I definitely understand.
Yeah,
it's definitely one of those things that's kind of sad, but do really understand the take on digital playing, having a digital kind of game instead of having it on a physical disc or whatever. Like there was that experience that I had not too long ago when Final Fantasy VII Rebirth was released. Yeah. I remember I ordered it on disc, but us having a very slow postal service, is it called like that? Postal system.
You can't call it a service anymore, I think. It's that slow.
It's a disservice.
It's disservice.
But I had it ordered like months in advance prior to the release date. But even though that I had planned for the release date, going like, I'm gonna play all day.
Yeah.
But then my delivery for the game got delayed, so I just figured, I'm just going to cancel it because I need it on day one. And I remembered you shared the game with me digitally, and it just felt like, that is amazing, and I'm so thankful because I could actually play it on day one.
Yeah, yeah.
It was an amazing experience because of that.
Yeah.
So, thanks.
My pleasure.
Yeah. Justin, what is your take on this question at hand?
I love physical games because you can hold it in your hand and feel like I bought this game. But as you said, it's convenient with the digital games. You can't get away from that fact. So Baldur's Gate I bought digitally because they still haven't released the disc version for the PlayStation. I played it on the PS5.
That's true. That's true.
I did not know that. That is surprising.
I looked for way too long before I realized hold on, it doesn't exist on disc for the PS5.
Wow.
And also I have a launch day PS5, so I have the not coil whine, but the sound of the disc reading sometimes gets very loud. And then it's very nice to have the digital game instead, so you can just cut out.
Yeah, cut out the noise.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But that's an interesting point that you make, that they choose to not release it on physical sometimes at all. It's also become more common. And also on Switch, I think sometimes it's only on digital.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, but maybe it comes later. I read now. I've also been playing like the Tomb Raider HD remaster, the first 3 games, really good remasters. But they've been out for a couple of months now. But now they're finally releasing the physical edition. So yeah, it's going different routes now, I think, with the releases. If it's successful digitally, they release physically or something. But, but it can be, it can be so devastating, I think, for the customer as well. I remember during the pandemic when they released this Mario 3D All-Stars or something on the Switch, like Mario Galaxy, Mario Sunshine, those classic. But it was for a limited time only, even digitally was on limited time. So then after a couple of months, you couldn't buy it anymore in the store on the Switch. So now the physical version, if you want to buy that, it's worth a fortune. So because it's hard to get. So what also happens is that you have like scalpers who buy a lot of physical versions of that game just to get rich, So it's so many
annoying.
So annoying, many problems with that kind of release.
The cartridge with the Odyssey Sunshine and
Odyssey Sunshine. 64. Yeah, 64. Yeah.
I had the physical.
You have it?
No, I sold it for like $20.
Oh, you kept it for retirement or something like that. Become a millionaire or something.
Damn it.
No, because a friend of mine, she was looking for it, and I think she found it for 2,000 kroner on eBay or something. Like, it's very expensive now, like sort of collector's edition now.
Wow.
So, yeah. So you never know. You never know. You know. Yeah.
So I myself, I'm also going for physical collecting first and foremost, and I would say that it partially has to do with the fact that I'm a video game console collector, so I don't really collect video game titles to the amount, but you know, the hardware gaming system, so to speak.
Yeah.
And you know, it feels like retro, well, online features was not a thing, so playing offline for everything in split screen was the way to go. And I really like it as well, where you just showcase it in your home, and you have something to hold, and you could sell it, you could borrow it, let it out to someone else. And it just feels like that is so nice to know that you can still get some money for it if you would like to. But on the other hand, with a digital kind of a concept, you can get things now. You never really need to get into town to get a hold of a game. So as long as you just have the hardware and a decent internet connection, you can still make do with what you got, and it's just a lot more convenient.
Yeah.
But I understand how these gaming creators feel like about piracy, and therefore you need to validate that you really have purchased the game in their official online store, and therefore you need to be logged in through the internet to verify. And that is just so frustrating, but I totally get it.
Yeah.
So it's like, I'm starting to get more, you know, towards the digital approach of things, but the hardware is mainly where I choose to get a hold of my games.
Yeah. But you have a pretty amazing collection at home with games and consoles. I mean,
Yeah,
you're
thank
a true collector. So yeah.
Mild way of putting it.
Yeah, mild way. Yeah.
Oh, that's so amazing. That's so amazing. So I was thinking, there is this kind of unfortunate fact about retro gaming console as, like, should we say even as a culture, where it's like due to the fact that just the sheer way of connecting your chosen retro game console to a display like a TV or a monitor, HDMI is currently the way to go. But if you would have like a Nintendo 64, which primarily uses composite, which is the plugs using yellow, red, and white plugs. Even if you would find a way to connect it to the TV, it's going to really ruin the experience with the video output looking very, very bad. Like super blurry. It's already blurry as it is with the Nintendo 64.
Yeah, exactly.
But on top of that, the input lag, it just feels like, you know, you press a button on your controller, and then the character on screen jumps like almost a second later. It just ruins the experience.
Yeah.
So there's really sad, you know, I really hate that fact. And so I remember, like, back in 2015 or something like that, I read up on, okay, is there anything that I could get to just make sure that I could still use my Super Nintendo, Nintendo 64, and Sega Genesis on my modern HD TV? And I found these YouTubers called My Life in Gaming. And they're not, you know, very, you know, what should I say, educated experts in terms of, you know, expert kind of way. But they know still what they're doing, and they have a lot of knowledge about this. So I just found out how they did things, and they had this thing called the FrameMeister, which came out in 2011, and it's this kind of device that not just really upscales, but it really takes care of the source signal and rewrites it in real time, making sure that it actually looks even more clean than it did in the old day when you play it on a CRT. And that is just amazing.
Yeah, it's super cool.
And so today I've actually brought one of these things. It's not a FrameMeister, and I would just like you to see this. So right here we do have this thing called the RetroTink 5X Pro, which is amongst the best analog to digital upscalers in the world. There's one more better, but it costs like, you know, 10,000 SEK, close to that. This one is not even sold in Sweden.
Did we use that to play on the Wii last time?
We did.
Yeah, it's the same thing. Yeah, because the image was amazing, I remember. Really good image quality.
Yeah. So it's just so amazing. Like, this one is like a black box where you would have, you know, if you see here on the back side, you can see S-Video. and it outputs everything through HDMI, and you have composite, which you can use right here, and component. So everything from GameCube to if you would have a modded version of a Super Nintendo or something like that, you can still connect it and get a lot of a better video signal, and it's just night and day difference.
Yeah.
And I've been thinking one way to really describe the end result for the video output. So if you would imagine yourself, like, what if there would be something that you would listen to online where you would hear people talk? So you would have one microphone, a very good microphone, but so one microphone standing in the center of a room. And then you would have 21 people standing around it with equal distance towards the microphone as every other person. Everyone would speak at the same time, saying different things with their own voices. And you, as the one listening to this clip, how would it feel like, to determine, what is this person saying? I can't really hear what that person is saying. And that is pretty much how I would describe the relevance of how it feels like to play things back in the old day. If you would compare playing, let's say, Super Nintendo with either the RF antenna cable or composite, because all the video signals comes from one wire. And all these signals is very, there's a lot going on at the same time, and you cannot really tell which colors is going on exactly at which spots, and each pixels and lines, it just feels like everything is a blurry mess. And on top of that, there's the input lag that's kind of bad. But if you would have something that is so-called modified, so it's actually compatible with something called SCART RGB, or RGB SCART actually, which the RetroTink 5X Pro is compatible with, you actually get something that I would describe which is a lot more better.
Yeah.
Because in that case, you would have the SCART. If you can visualize that in your head, you know how the SCART looks like?
Yeah, sure.
The big black.
Yeah, you even have the exact same. Yeah.
So right here on the side, you see like there are, I do believe, if I'm not even counting this, there are supposed to be 21 holes. In each of these holes goes one pin. One pin equals like, kind of a signal that goes on, and 21 signals equals everything going on at the same time at any second. And so like the controller goes for one, the light goes for one, and so on and so forth with colors and whatever. So with RGB SCART, it's like you have 21 microphones for 21 people.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden you can make out what each and every person is saying a lot more easier. Plus, the processing, editing through a computer or whatever is a lot more easier.
Yeah.
So, enough of my technical talk, but
No, but it's interesting.
Yeah.
It's really interesting.
But it goes hand in hand with what you said, like game preservation. Like you can play. I think that's a big missed opportunity for most game companies today, not re-releasing some of their older games. Like they're stuck at PlayStation 1 or 2, for example. They never re-release them in a sort of game library that's always accessible to you. I think Xbox is a little bit better at that. PlayStation is starting to get it now in this console. Now PlayStation 5 can play PlayStation 4 games and so on. But for example, Nintendo is horrible at game preservation. They're really bad at releasing older games for the newer consoles.
Yeah, word.
Yeah, they're starting to. They have like this online service now, so you can play Game Boy, Nintendo, Super Nintendo games, but also like with emulation. So usually there are better emulations online by fans that in Ocarina of Time looks better in a fan-made emulation than Nintendo's own release now on the online version. So I think. And I don't get it. I never get why Nintendo won't release older games. Maybe it sometimes has to do with trademark and different brands, but for their own game library, in-house games, why don't they release them in HD or have them more accessible to people? Because that is why people turn to emulation, I think, because they can't play them otherwise, and most people don't own, like you, John, have every console in the world. So I mean, they can never experience those games, and people get, have this interest of gaming, and they want to check out more retro style games, and they have no way of doing that except maybe trying to find the consoles and also find this technology that you described to be able to play them, or to play emulations online. So if Nintendo can complain all they want on emulation, but maybe you should try and release your games then to the public more easily, so it wouldn't turn to emulation. It's that easy, I think.
Yeah, truly, I definitely agree with you. It's just so sad to see like how the current generation like of gamers being, if we speak about the younger generation of people, and if I would go like to one person and go like, oh, so you like Zelda games? And they go, yeah, I love Tears of the Kingdom. And it's like, okay, sure, that's good. What do you think of A Link to the Past? What?
Yeah.
You're getting old, John. It's those darn today's youth.
Oh yeah, so there's that. And Justin, do you have anything that you want to add to this kind of like, what we've been talking about just now?
Yeah, it's sort of. I think that unfortunately, to play like devil's advocate, the problem with re-releasing some games is okay. Now Nintendo has to pay someone to rewrite the code because say the Super Nintendo speaks English, but the Switch speaks Chinese.
Yeah.
Now we have to translate the game code into the new console, and then they have to take a gamble. So is this game popular enough? So if we invest X amount of millions of dollars in it, will we actually get the money back?
Yeah.
Which I'm not saying I disagree with you. I think it's really.
I totally
really
understand
sad.
what you mean.
There's games that I would play. From the olden days.
Yeah.
But
I think like classics like Chrono Trigger, for example. I mean, no-brainer to re-release that in some way, like a 16-bit graphic. I mean, it shouldn't take that much matter. But as you say, it's work behind it. It's work behind everything like that. But
they always want to make the money. We have to. Will we get the money back on our investment?
And I think,
unfortunately.
Yeah, that's true. But I think also like the game I mentioned, F-Zero 99, which is this online, but it has this 16-bit graphic, but it's online. I think that's sort of a test, feeling the water, so to speak, or gamers playing this game. Is it popular? How many is playing online? And if it does well, I'm guessing next, we have Nintendo Direct in a year, or their online convention. They will, here's the new F-Zero example, because we have done the test with this, So I think they're using it for that as well. Because sometimes we have like one of my favorite racers of all time, speaking of F-Zero, on the GameCube, F-Zero GX. It's a masterpiece, and it still looks amazing on the GameCube. If you complete with this technology that you have, John, it looks incredible. So you already have all that. You just have to, as you say, translate the language for it. And I think that still would be cheaper than, making this completely new game. If you have like really good classics that you haven't re-released, you should at least give it more a try, I think, for it. It's so strange sometimes. I know we discussed this, John, when we talked about Zelda games, like Twilight Princess or Wind Waker, that already exist in HD on Wii U. And Wii U wasn't that popular of a console. So I mean, that as well shouldn't take much effort to re-release on the Switch, for example. You already done the HD transfer. So just sometimes it's more difficult with older style. But if you already, like the previous generation had re-released it in HD, why don't you release it now again? For the summer games here, fans want this. I think it's strange, still strange. It is. Sometimes they're just lazy, because we talked a lot about GoldenEye for Nintendo 64, the Bond game, and everybody wanted to play it, and I think it was Rare had completed a full HD remaster of it, but they didn't release it because the Nintendo, no, you can't release that sort of trademarks, and Nintendo worked on this as well. But it was like 90% complete. It looked really good. And then Nintendo just pulls the plug. And then like 2 years ago, I think, they released the original GoldenEye, like an emulation on Switch on this, online service.
Oh, yeah.
And it works fine. I think it's fine. I played it a lot, and you have like widescreen and so. Yeah. But I mean, how much would it cost just to finish that 10% and just have it on HD? I mean, it's just so small-minded in a way, and I think, sometimes.
The money that Nintendo would see that they might have lost in such a process with a finished re-release of GoldenEye in a what should I say, renewed state. They would have easily made up for the lost amount of money because, you know, the amount of sold copies digitally and physically, they would have easily earned a fortune by just releasing it, allowing that for to happen.
I think if you have like they did with Perfect Dark, that was the predecessor, or not a sequel, basically.
The original, for Nintendo 64.
You have that on Xbox, very good HD re-release in 60 frames, and you have online mode. And I think if you release GoldenEye like HD, you have online matches with a lot of people, that would sell. It would sell. It would sell. It's like, no, we don't like money. Oh, it's effort. Like, I just envision Nintendo bosses as lazy people just sitting like this in boardrooms, you know, like that. I don't know. Sometimes it's strange. As you said, it's work to you know, transfer to HD. I get all that, but sometimes you just...
Some games would be worth it.
Yeah, some games would be worth it. Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Just got to think about this little thing about, you know, when it comes to why games in a digital sense is the way to go, because it gives the modders, you know, and the enthusiasts who like, especially, you know, old kinds of games where it's like maybe it has a major bug that just breaks the game, or maybe it's, you know, the game needs a translation so more people from the world can actually play it and understand what's going on in the game, or maybe just, you know, enhance the game in whatever way to make the gaming experience better for the specific title at hand. So when it comes to games that are sold on cartridges and gaming consoles that, you know, just uses offline features, it's not really possible because the entire game needs to be re-released somehow. But when it's online, it's enough with an update, or maybe, you know, you would install it on a separate kind of storage physical thingy, like an USB drive or whatever, and just, you know, install that onto the console if compatible, and you would easily enhance the experience for that game. And it just feels like...
That's one of the best features of online gaming today, that you can release patches and fix things after, you know, like, because before, it's a bug, okay, you have to live with it, but, you know, but today you can actually go into the game and fix things, and I think that's a good thing. That's a really
We're looking at you, E.T., for Atari.
Yes.
Yeah, wow. And also, I remember this kind of thing where it's like, you know, the question about DLCs, what people think about them, because, you know, when it came to DLCs back in the 90s or so, I'm thinking, you know, sometimes we didn't really have DLCs without the internet, obviously, but we still had, like, you know, the Diablo 2 expansion pack that you could buy to add another chapter to the game.
Yeah.
And it was amazing, but you would still have to buy to, you know, play the extended chapter after the end game of the original game.
Yeah.
And that just feels like amazing, but it's been more, you know, more something common for most games to have certain DLCs free or something that costs money.
Yeah. Previously more like on PC, you didn't have it on consoles, like expansions.
Exactly.
Like that.
I believe so too. Yeah.
That would be the modem for, was it Nintendo 64? Was it one of the first consoles? I think it was the 64. They released the modem in only in Japan, I think. I'm surprised you don't have one, John.
Oh, is that what the 64 DD something?
Yeah, it was sort of a
disc
drive.
drive.
Yeah.
Oh, that's another thing, okay.
I think there was a modem in it, or a modem you could buy for the Nintendo 64 DD. I'm not sure. Don't quote me on this. I haven't done my research recently.
Yeah.
So, well, you actually could. And they were talking about game preservation. There's like extra levels for some Zelda game or some Super Mario games that you could only get through this modem add-on, and they were only available for a very limited amount of time.
That's sad.
I think that's part of those games that are lost to history.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Yeah. No, but Nintendo experimented with a lot of strange, as you said, with the disc drive for Nintendo 64. We never got that here, at least, and wasn't that turned into the PlayStation 1, or they need some collaboration with Nintendo, and they broke apart, and
prior to the PlayStation 1,
prior to PlayStation 1, and PlayStation went on their own, because Nintendo started to work with Philips instead for the CDI or something. Horrible games. So Sony, screw you, we're doing their own thing, like
turned out pretty well for Sony.
Pretty well for Sony, yeah. Good choice.
Oh yeah.
But it was a different time, because, as you said, it could be hard to get both hardware or editions of games. I'm a big Metal Gear Solid fan, and I know there are very different versions of that game in Japan with different secret missions for VR and stuff like that. That's a good collector's edition. Now that we got the HD collection last year, you get all the versions actually of the games, so that's cool. But yeah, it was a different time then.
It's really pro for remasters.
Yeah,
you can get all these region exclusive stuff. Yeah. If it's remaster is done well, it's so cool to just have that in your library, all those editions, and just I want to play today, or that or that or that.
Oh yeah.
And you often have in the Japanese versions and everything like that. So but that when they make an effort,
exactly,
you have to make an effort.
Yeah. I definitely feel like that is something super interesting with the HD remasters, because I feel like the pixelated games. When you have an old school CRT TV, the picture really looks great when you still have these old cables like composite or RF. But when it comes to these modern TVs, if you would even manage to plug it into the TV, it's going to look crappy.
Yeah.
But it feels like now with this hardware, this upscaler, like the RetroTink, it's just so amazing, because, I remembered I was about to play a PS1 game called Adventures of Alundra.
Oh,
it
classic.
was the first game. Have you played it, Justin?
No.
Okay, it was amazing. It's
like a Zelda clone in a way.
Yeah,
I would say.
Is.
Yeah,
exactly.
Then I would probably like it.
Yeah. No, it was good.
It was amazing. I remembered I was visiting my friends who actually had played the game in their youth. And so I brought my upscaler, my PlayStation 1 with the controller and the disc. And so I just fired it up without really thinking about it. And, the picture showed up, and I was just used to it looks really good. But the reaction from one of these friends went it's just like an HD remaster.
Yeah.
And it's just so amazing with the right equipment. If you're willing to pay the money for it, you could get something that looks like an HD remaster without really paying a remaster fee for it.
Yeah.
Because usually remaster means that you pay for the game again. But if you would only have the original hardware and a good upscaler on a modern TV, you can still make it look superb. But of course, there are those kinds of games I remembered I played God of War 1 on the PS2, and that game looked horrible in a beautiful way, because all the imperfections looked even worse, because everything was more clear.
Sharper. Yeah.
So that was super, super sad. And I'm also thinking about this kind of thing where it's have you ever come across these China knockoff systems, so to speak? What are they called? Sometimes in handheld form, sometimes it's connected through cables to your TV, and you would have this very creaky, cheap controller that you're supposed to play the game with, and it has this title, Game Machine 101, 99 games in one.
Yeah, I know which one you mean.
Yeah. And then you would have these, cheapskate titles like Super Mario 99 and whatever, Legend of not Zelda. And then you would see maybe the sounds are changed out for the sake of copyright, or maybe one of the characters or the colors or whatever it is. But then as you play through it, it's a very hit and miss kind of experience, because sometimes the game, except for how it looks sometimes, can actually be very good, but usually there are such major flaws that just breaks the experience altogether. Have you ever had that kind of experience with these kinds of systems, so to speak?
Those China systems. I'm not sure if I've played one in as an adult.
Me neither.
But it's interesting to say that, because I had it sounds like an urban legend, but I had a friend in middle school that had a half-ish piracy copy of Super Mario 3. Which had a built-in sheets. It was a big yellow cartridge. This looks weird as
Game Shark?
No, it wasn't the Game Shark. It was just the Super Mario cartridge.
yeah.
Which
Right.
had some hacking mumbo jumbo pixie dust. They had built-in sheets. So it was like, okay, I can use the P-Wing on every level if I want to. So.
Yeah. Because I remember I came across when I was growing up, a friend of mine bought like strange edition of. He said, "Oh, this is a new Super Mario game or something like that," and it was like on a Nintendo cartridge, but it was so strange. It was the Looney Tunes game, like the Looney Tunes character Bugs Bunny and stuff, but there were like kids. So that was a NES game because I had that on NES, but they had exchanged the characters from Nintendo, like Mario characters. Super weird. I don't know where he found it. But sometimes you feel like this, what's it called? Homebrews?
Homebrews,
Yeah. So it can be very interesting, those urban legends almost, as you said. How did he do that? Where did it come from? Why would anybody do that? Like it's so strange. But then I think it can be cool, like with good mods, for example, more on PC, of course, but that then you can have more freedom and the way you want to change your game, because there's always a big modding community behind, popular games. And for example, now this week, I don't know if you played this Hogwarts Legacy, the Harry Potter game. I know people complain about like you can't change when you finish the game. You can change the seasons in the game from spring, winter, or summer where you want to play it. And this week they released a summer like from the game company. Like now you have photo mode and you could do this and this, but still you couldn't change the seasons. But game modders have already finished that, done a very good modding of that, like a menu. You can just choose if you want to have like a snow or whatever. So I mean, sometimes they can just complete what the producers didn't add to the game, and I think that can be very cool to have that sort of freedom, and it's optional. You don't have to have it, but modders are very passionate sometimes, and they like fix things that. I mean, the game company should add as well, I think. I think it's cool when, speaking of that Tomb Raider HD release, I know they worked with modders and people who try to release the Tomb Raiders game unofficially and in a very high quality. So they worked together to release this new edition of it. So that's very cool and creative cooperation, I think, when they can do things like that. So
more developers should do that. I think Bethesda did the same with Skyrim. There's a lot of things that started out as mods, and then they said, well, hey, people like this. Let's add it officially to the game. So it's a very good way to get inspiration for how can we evolve our game. And it's one of the reasons I want to play Baldur's Gate on the PC as well. Do I really want to spend like that amount of money again? Just because of the mods. They add extra quests, so you get they remove the level cap, so you can become insanely overpowered. Which can be fun sometimes.
No, but I actually read, this week that they are later this year releasing for PS5. Actually, like modders for Baldur's Gate 3. I think.
Oh, that would be amazing.
I think because they're also like they respect the passion of the fans and the modders. I think, as you said, it's best way to work, like for the companies as well, and they do all the work for you basically. So I mean, why not?
I wouldn't surprise. Larian Studios, the developers, it seems like a very laid back company.
And passion. Themselves are passionate. I think. I remember they won the Game of the Year award at Game Awards or something like that last year, and they're very passionate people. I don't know if the main developer attended with a full body armor or something like that from the Middle Ages or something. I mean, they're like very passionate about.
Surprise me.
It's so cool with those instead of this, like I said, Nintendo, this cold, like we're just producing games, we just care about money. Instead, companies working with modders and fans. That's the best way to go.
I was thinking about another, regarding game preservation, because I do remember I've sent you this article, I believe, about game preservation in America, because the situation right there is like 87% of retro game consoles and, games are completely inaccessible unless people would really, buy the old school system along with the games. But it's really inaccessible for people to even enjoy. Because it's just not possible to utilize it with equipment that they have.
Yeah.
And therefore, retro games are lost.
Yeah.
Because of technology.
Yeah, because it's not just like you said, you have to have this very nice box to, use all the wires and everything to make it work on your TV, just to get an image, basically.
Yeah.
But you also have to have the console, and consoles break. I mean, they get old, and you can't use them anymore. And then what should I do? I mean,
exactly.
So
and even worse, there's this thing called disc rot, where it's like, you would have like a disc-based game or game on a disc.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, as long as the disc is working, you can always access the game. But then again, I do believe that if the disc is exposed to too much light over time, long time, there could be, that a certain surface of the CD could be, completely erased, as in, it just becomes a transparent spot.
Yeah, like a light spot.
Yeah, something like that. You can just see like the plastic, whatever kind of thing, but the printed label, gets burnt off, and the surface, this shiny surface underneath, gets also kind of like burnt off and erased by just the sheer light exposure. And so it feels like, if you don't protect your stuff, and even if you would do having them like protected in their cover cases, there's always the risk of them not being playable forever.
Materials degrade over time, no matter the material. It's just a question of time.
Yeah.
And then you would have like, the save files, unless you would have them digitally backed up, which you can actually dive into, and it's really much of a process. But, if you would have a game on a cartridge, it's like, even cartridges can degrade over time.
Yeah.
And it feels just so sad. Like, I've been lucky this far. Like, my Donkey Kong 64 file on my Nintendo 64 is still there. And I've had it since release.
Oh, I have my original game file for GoldenEye on my GoldenEye original edition. On this cartridge, and I completed it on the hardest difficulty, so I've unlocked everything. And
that's impressive.
Yes, I'm trying to preserve that. Very like, don't break now, like that.
Like the Holy Grail or something.
Yeah. No, but as you said, you have all this progression in the game as well that just gets lost. I had one time, the only time a console broke for me, I was playing on PlayStation 3. Not this first edition that was very expensive. It was like a second release of the console, and I was playing like Uncharted 2 and really enjoying that game. And suddenly the fan in the console started like that. Yeah. No, almost like a death scream, like that. And then it just like boom went black. And I couldn't start it. It just broke.
Happened to me too, in fact.
Yeah, so I lost the game in that, and I hadn't backed up save files. I played a lot of Resident Evil 5. I've unlocked all the weapons, unlimited ammo, completed on the hardest difficulty, and everything like that.
That hurts.
So like, no. So like after that experience, I always back up online or on USB or just to make sure, so I never go through that. I never had a system break for me after that, but you never know. Everything can happen with
it's
technology.
Like shell shock, like PTSD. As soon as the fan turns on, no.
Yeah. So you never know.
Yeah. One topic that we haven't really touched on is the fact that on the every official online shop for each and every gaming system, whatever. You have Steam for the PCs, which is very typical, and you would have the eShops for Nintendo, Marketplace for Xbox, and so on. And then there is the sad fact where it comes to, these shops closing down.
Yeah.
And was it, I believe that recently, did the PS3 whatever store close down its digital shop, or did it get its date postponed to a later date?
I don't know, because I know every time they mention that Sony is going to close the digital store, all the fans like rally with pitchforks and torches, like don't close it, like that. Go, but it's good. It's the passion. Because then you can't access the library.
Exactly.
So I'm actually this summer on summer vacation. I think I'm starting my PS3 and play some older games. I was very curious about that, if they have closed shop completely, because I wanted to get some games digitally before they close it down, so you can hopefully still play it. I don't know, because I actually have that Alundra game. I have that digitally installed on my PS3, so I can play that with HDMI graphics. But no, because you never know if they will still support the game. because I was at this like sci-fi convention a couple of weeks ago, and I'm a huge Bond fan, so I bought like this Quantum of Solace for Xbox 360. It's like an old game.
Yeah.
But I think like, yeah, it's on disc, and it's like, yeah, I have a Series X, and it's supposed to play all games, I thought. But then I put in the disc, and it as soon as I did that, came up text that no, we don't support this game anymore. You can't play it on
anymore.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
Yeah, so
disc.
even if you have it, even if you have the disc, even if you have it physically, maybe the system won't support it anymore, or from the store. And I mean, Bond games is complicated because of licensing issues with James Bond and stuff like that. I get it, but you should at least be able to play it. I mean, read the disc offline or something like that. But no, I couldn't even start it.
Oh, that's too bad.
Yeah, so you never know. You never know.
Yeah.
If the company would stop supporting the game, even if you have it physically, maybe you can't start it anymore.
Yeah, exactly. Oh man, that is so sad.
Yeah.
This just brings me to this kind of. I remember I watched a video like a year ago or so. I don't really remember when it was released. But have you heard of the YouTuber, The Completionist?
Yeah.
Yeah, only because you have told me about him.
Yeah. So he made an episode. So he has a team of people that helped him with his major project. So this was revolving around the PS3, I believe, because that online shop was about to close down, and because of that, he took initiative, I believe, to preserve these games. So he purchased every single title in that digital store.
Yeah.
And moved them on to a separate storage somehow, and had them preserved by sending it off to a separate group of people, like a company or whatever, for game preservation.
Yeah.
And they spent so much time, and it took
initiative.
Yeah,
it's really good.
Yeah, it was an amazing initiative, and the whole process took like days or weeks, just the sheer download time for everything, and it was super expensive. And I remember I do believe, I'm not sure, that he received donations for this project to be able to go through.
Yeah, speaking of completionists and donations, he is in hot water now because he got a lot of donations because he had a side project, got money for research doing, was it Alzheimer's or Parkinson or something like that? And it turned out that he just sat on the money he received from those donations.
No.
So he actually was a character in Sea of Stars, that game that was released last year or something.
I heard of the game, yeah.
Yeah, because he was a game character because he was a big fan of that studio, and they actually removed him from that game. Speaking of patches, they patched him out because of that. But yeah, good on him for preserving games, but less well with the other part of his foundations and stuff like that. So yeah.
Didn't Nintendo close the 3DS shop?
They did, not too long ago, I believe.
That is closed now.
Was it months or weeks ago?
Months, I think.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Super sad because it had a very huge library, I remember. And I loved going in once in a while to just check on what do they have. So there's that.
Did you buy a lot of digital games for that system from the store?
Barely anything.
I
remember the storage that I had was not much, and of course each game didn't require much space. But it was just, I loved collecting physically for that system, especially more than modern systems.
Yeah.
But almost no digital download titles that I actually purchased.
Yeah.
Lucky.
Yeah. Pretty much.
Yeah.
I have this topic written down here, which says job opportunities. And so I remember that back in the old day of when you had the Nintendo 8-bit and the Sega Genesis and so on, the entire gaming culture was only revolving around nerds being a negative thing. Do you remember?
Yeah, sure.
And the amount of people all over the world working in the gaming industry was way fewer. And ever since internet has become a thing and evolved into what we have today, it feels like one of these things helping the world economically and also helping people fight depression and everything, to make sure that they can just, temporarily dream themselves away into a story, playing a game that they would really enjoy, like a movie or something like that. But with jobs being a thing, what would you say about that? Is it something that's, a lot bigger now and you could, make a sustainable living in the gaming industry, earning money from it?
I'm so depressed. No, but it's like I'm just thinking about the gaming future. No, because we have problems right now that there are massive layoffs in the business. I mean, it is a big business today, as you say. It's way bigger than many years ago. It surpassed, the movie business, Hollywood, and all that. Gaming is way bigger than that, and so. But today there's so many massive layoffs, and studios are closing down. There's no real security in it. Like Microsoft, for example, are like buying big, like they're buying the Call of Duty brand now, for example, but that resulted in their closing smaller studios that had made amazing games. So it's a very difficult business to be in today. You're never safe in that sort of workspace today, I think. And also, yeah, sure, I think more people today are interested in working in that business, but they're like, lots of studios are closing, and they're also going into more AI sort of thinking as developers as well. So I know Square Enix, I think, said that they're once a year they send out this letter, I think, to the fans or something, but it's horrible to read it. It's like, we're making so much money, we're closing these studios now, and we're using AI for this and this, and oh my god, it's like the worst thing you can write to your fans, basically, and they don't see that. But so I don't know how the gaming business is going to turn out in the near future because of AI and companies, massive layoffs. So I don't know. I don't
That's
know
very
really.
sad.
Yeah, it's very sad.
Yeah, I almost know nothing about this, so I'm glad I asked.
Yeah. No, but
that's also the problem that one of the from people I know in the industry, that part of the reasoning in why should we buy this studio is if we buy it, the other company can't use them.
Yeah.
So we buy this brand, and they can't use it. We have all the licensing rights. We have all the rights to this game.
Yeah.
Can close down the studio.
Yeah.
And the other company can't use that big game.
Yeah.
Franchise.
Yeah.
And I think also to us it's a very unsafe business to work in, since here in Sweden we have very good labor laws.
Yeah.
It's very hard to get fired in Sweden unless you really mess up.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But in some countries where there's a lot of studios, they don't have as good labor laws. So they can basically come into work one morning and say, "Oh no, you don't have to come in."
Yeah.
Oh, why? Yeah, we fired you yesterday.
Yeah.
Without telling me?
Yeah. Basically.
Yeah. I've seen horrible images of that. I don't remember the company now, but it was they had like a yearly party for like, good business year, celebrating with the boss and taking, selfies and yay, party for the company. Next week they closed it down and the boss quit and got all the money, like that. So, as you say, they don't have that sort of safety net that we do here in Sweden. So yeah, it can be very, very difficult business to work in if you don't have good labor laws, as you say.
Especially if you're on the lower levels in the company, so to speak. If you're a Q&A person,
you're a lot more expendable.
You are replaceable. If you choose to quit, they have 100 people standing in line to get your job.
Exactly.
So why if you're not up to par to their standards, why should they keep you? They have 100 people waiting to get your job.
Yeah.
So you, as you say, you're expendable.
Yeah.
That's
and you also have like this, like the shareholders of the company are pressuring the company to release games at certain times, So you have a lot that's common now. I'm thinking about Cyberpunk, for example, when that was
about to
released.
say that.
Golden
Yeah, because it released completely broken. I waited, I think the year after, I bought it for PS5, and then it was fine. Now it's amazing because a couple of years later they patched it, and it looks great. And with the DLC, it's amazing. It's a really, really good game. But they were pressured to release it, making the yearly, revenue or something like that. So the shareholders pressured the company to release it in an unfinished state. So that also becomes more common, and that's the downside of this. You release patches for the games because we, the consumer, becomes the testers, the beta testers of the games, basically, doing their work for them, to complaining and sending in this and this and this, and then they start patching and patching. So now Cyberpunk, like 3 years later or something like that. Now it's complete. It's amazing.
I played it earlier today. It's really amazing game.
I love it. I love it so much.
Especially with the Phantom Liberty DLC. It's really Cyberpunk 2.0.
Yeah. No, but I really
nice.
I love
so
it.
Nice.
So I always recommend that game now when it's finished. But yeah, so many gamers was disappointed. And on PS4, it was basically unplayable, I think. When it was
same on the Xbox One.
Yeah.
Which is the competitor.
So you have that. That's a very negative part of the business today. Like pressure from shareholders to release. Yeah.
Oh, that is so.
So yeah. Depressing topic here, Jan.
It is.
Thank you.
But on a positive note regarding a different topic, I've written down here different ways to play a certain game because I love how the current generation has made it easier to play the same title in whatever hardware that you would choose, because now usually a AAA game is usually released on PC, PS5, sometimes even PS4 along with Xbox One, but also the Series consoles. Xbox consoles. So it's like, you're not really restricted to have a certain system, because I remember back in the old day, it was Nintendo camp or Sega camp. I want to play Zelda, but I got a Mega Drive. There's no way to play it legally. Okay, well, but these days it's like, I want to play this game. Well, unless you would have, like, say, a Switch, and you want to play something that is not really released on the Switch, it would really become a problem.
Yeah.
But, I also love how these days it's like, you would have smartphones and iPads is also a choice. And also it just makes it easier for people to choose for themselves because of, medical conditions. Like I'm thinking arthritis in the hands, where it's like, you can't really grip something for a longer time because it creates a pain in your hands in a certain way. So you can choose the controller, you can choose the system.
I think PlayStation released like a special controller for if you have like a certain condition or a certain handicap, whatever you want to call it. Like it's easier to play with hands.
Yeah,
so yeah,
exactly.
I think one of the first. I think.
Disc hockey puck.
Yeah,
that one.
Something
exactly,
like that. Yeah, so it's cool. It's cool. So they're making effort to make it more accessible to people. Games, even like more like an accessibility mode. Like if you're colorblind or if you're this or this or this, you can basically tweak your game whatever you want. But I think it's so interesting because I agree with you that games are more accessible today. But Nintendo would always have their hardcore games on their console. Nintendo, like Mario, Zelda, you will never find those on PlayStation, not yet, at least. Yeah. But Xbox is sort of a very like turbulent state now, I think. But because they're starting to release game on PlayStation 5. I read today that they're planning to release Halo on PlayStation. That's crazy. I mean, that's unthinkable a couple of years ago. But they're in free fall, Xbox, because they're not selling well what they want to with the console. So they're trying to release their classic games on PlayStation 5. Also rumor about Gears of War on PlayStation 5, for example. But at the same time, they're buying up, like we talked about, Call of Duty on those games and trying to control them as an exclusive on the Xbox. And I don't know what they're doing, basically, but they're like doing different things. Like, now you can, because I don't know if they're not profitable anymore. Like Halo, not as much as they want to. Okay, we'll release it on PlayStation 5. But Call of Duty is, of course, a big money maker, so they're trying to have that exclusive. And they're also using Game Pass for that. I think the new Call of Duty will be on day one on Game Pass for Xbox. So it's sort of now Xbox is getting desperate, so they're sort of shifting back to what you're talking about, John, like the more console exclusivity in a way. But at the same time, PlayStation has a lot of good exclusive as well.
They do.
Yeah,
definitely.
The Horizon franchise.
Yeah, Horizon is amazing.
And Final Fantasy.
Final Fantasy Rebirth. Oh my God, it's so good. It's so good. So I mean, yeah. So maybe we're getting back more into that sort of development today. You still have a lot to choose from, but you have sort of specific for PlayStation, Xbox, and I think Xbox is trying to carve out a piece of that now for themselves.
Oh yeah, true.
Because they don't have that sort of console exclusivity anymore. It doesn't have that appeal anymore, at least to people. I love playing Halo and Gears of War. We played a lot of Gears of War, John. So I've never been able to play that before because I never had an Xbox. I just had the first Xbox, then I choose the other consoles. But I don't think it's profitable anymore for Xbox. So they're trying to.
We'll see what happened now. They bought Bethesda.
Yeah.
Oh, they
See
did,
what
yes.
happens with Elder Scrolls 6 because when they bought it, first they said, no, every game that is in development will be released on the PlayStation 5 as well.
Yeah.
I think 2 weeks later, so we'll see, maybe.
Oh man!
But it has to turn a profit, and I mean Starfield that they released was a huge flop. I think I can say. I mean, maybe many played it on Game Pass, but it wasn't a good game. I gave it 15 hours or something like that. Have you played it, Starfield? Anyone?
I have not. No.
No, because it was like playing a PS3 game or something like the design of it. So many like loading screens, like a menu simulator instead of a space simulator. It was so strange. Like they bragged about, you're going to different planets and stuff like that. Yeah, I'm going to different loading screens to get to the planets, basically. And like this stiff animations, like these robots walking around. They're supposed to be human beings, not robots, but they're like so stiff animations, still these stiff animations, and like very old way of playing the game. You can't carry that much, and the store, when you're selling things, the store they don't have much money, so you have to wait in the game for the store to have more money in the game. And like, this is what you did like 10 or 15 years ago. It felt so old in a way, and and so empty. I don't know, it's such a strange gaming experience, Starfield. So I think most people were disappointed in that game. So you have to deliver on the exclusive games as well. And so far, I don't think they have that. And as you say with Elder Scrolls, how that will turn out. And you have so much today with monetization and, you have to, I think like Fallout 76, I've never played that, but I think you have to have some sort of subscription now. I wouldn't be surprised with Elder Scrolls 6 if like a monthly fee just to play the game. I wouldn't be surprised by that. I don't know. They're taking strange.
Default sounds like that could be a likely scenario happening.
Yeah, I hope not. But I don't know. Because it's not going well for these big companies and with Bethesda and yeah, I don't know. See what happens. We'll see what happens.
But speaking of vendor money, I had this discussion with a friend there. What do you think in games where the vendors offer you different prices for different items? So, you have to, if you want the max amount of money, you have to travel to this guy to sell swords, and this guy to sell the armor, this guy to sell bread and cheese.
Yeah.
What do you think about that? Because I'm not a big fan of it. I think I don't want to spend an hour fast traveling just to get as much money as possible.
Speaking of mods, because on the PS4 they allow, and also PS5, they allowed mods for Skyrim, for example. You couldn't have it on PS3. And the first mod I downloaded was like vendors have like infinite amount of money wherever you try to sell something, they have like thousands of. So I don't have to travel everywhere to do that. Because I hate that. I mean, as you say, I have to go there and there and there. So many hours of that game experience just traveling around, like fast traveling around, just to sell things to vendors.
It's
Why?
the same in Baldur's Gate 3.
Yeah.
Well, they have a finite amount of money.
Yeah.
So in the end, I just started donating stuff to the shop. So here you have this armor. So
oh man, is it also in like that game where it's like, in the Elder Scrolls games where it's like, the inventory can make you over encumbered, not walking fast.
Yeah. There is, but I can. That's both a good thing and bad thing, I guess, with me being such a big Dungeons and Dragons nerd that. That game gets away with a lot of things I would find annoying in other games.
That's true. If you're really passionate about a game, you see beyond its faults.
It's okay that it's so flawed, so to speak.
I still love you, game. I still love you. That. No, but it's true. It's true. But one interesting thing, speaking of this, because they patched Starfield a couple of weeks ago, so they made it more, because people are complaining that it's very difficult to play. Feel like these old games selling things to vendors and stuff like that. So now you can go into the menu and change so the vendors have a little bit more money or a lot more money. Oh, that's good. But this is so weird. They're punishing the players for making that choice, so you receive less XP from quests and enemies if you want to use that change in the game. If you want, that's so strange.
That's really weird. So where is the correlation?
Yeah.
So
I mean, it's so strange. I mean, I have Game Pass, but I pay for Game Pass every month. Nice to have a lot of games to choose from. But I mean, why can't I choose that as a gamer? Why do you have to punish me as a gamer for wanting to not to have to travel in your damn menus for an hour to sell my inventory instead of just going to one guy to do it? Why would you want to punish the player? It's so weird.
It doesn't make any sense.
No, and it's also, speaking of that, encumbered. If you're having too much weight on you, that's a big problem in Starfield as well. And you can change that. Now you can carry a lot of things, but you receive -5% in experience points. I mean, why? It's up to me as a gamer if I want to do that. I can turn it all off and play on the hardest difficulty if I want a challenge. Yeah. Why can't I be able to choose this without you punishing me for it? That's the first time I've seen those things.
That's really weird.
What? Right? I don't get it.
I've started to love what a lot of developers, or at least some, do now with the micromanaging difficulty, so to speak.
Yeah.
The Horizon Forbidden West, they were really, really good. You can say, okay, my problem is that the enemies do too much damage. Okay, then I can just lower the amount of damage they do. Everything else still stays the same.
Yeah.
Also, no, I want to have more health instead.
Yeah.
So, okay. Yeah. Then you can you can micromanage the difficulty.
Yeah.
I think that's something that more developers will and should adapt into their games. Instead of just easy, normal, hard.
Yeah.
Oh, I hate that.
I think it's good. I think most games are going in that direction. Speaking about accessibility in games, I know The Last of Us Part 2, when that was released, the huge amount of changes you can do, like to gameplay and stuff like that. Because, I mean, why not? I mean, you pay for the game. The customer should be able to choose the way you want to play it, because there's so different outsets. I mean, if you have if you're working late, or if you have coming home to a family with kids, and maybe you just have an hour in the evening someday just to relax with the game. Maybe you don't want that, really big challenge. Maybe you just want to enjoy the game for the story or the experience, whatever you want. You should be able to choose that as a gamer, because you bought the game. And if you want hardcore game, fine, just turn up the difficulty. You can have that as well, but you should have the choice. Always give the player the choice, I think.
Exactly. We talked about a few months ago with just lowering the difficulty, because you asked me, would I be a bad gamer because I'm stuck on this boss if I lower the difficulty? What are you playing on? I'm playing on ultra hard. To me it's but I get home, like you say, I have a finite amount of time to play. So when I get home from work, I play to have fun. I don't want it to feel like a second job.
No, exactly.
So now, for Baldur's Gate again.
Yeah,
so now I play it through again just for the story.
Yeah.
So just put everything on the easiest difficulty.
Yeah.
Because now I just want the story. There's so many different choices you can make in that game.
Yeah.
So makes so much difference in the story.
I have to continue it. I have my save file. I still
to.
haven't played it in
You
a couple
have
of
to.
weeks. I have, but I really liked it. Because it reminded me of this old, like if you played Knights of the Old Republic, that Star Wars game, like that sort of feeling, that sort of role playing and choices and stuff like that. But as you said, you have to be able to choose that as a customer, like a consumer of the product, the way you want to play it. And some games are famous for being hard, like Demon's Souls and all those sort of Souls-like games, because they want the challenge. But even there, I mean, but this game is supposed to be hard. But if I just want to have a good experience for the story, why shouldn't I be able to have that? They still haven't added easy to those games.
No, I have Demon's Souls, the one for PlayStation 5.
Yeah,
I bought that one and one other game on launch day.
Yeah.
It's still plastic wrapped.
Yeah.
I know that I will get a brain aneurysm from playing it.
I've actually completed it. I bought it for my PS5 also on day one to have a PS5 game, but I couldn't complete it with my original build, so I checked online for the best character build with spell casting, and you can, like, we're 20 meters away from the enemy and just cast spell all the time. So I've actually completed it after that, but that's just because of the build. Because I usually play as a warrior, sort of like this physical in playing role. Yeah, so it was insanely difficult to complete that on, because I don't know, I'm getting older, but I'm not quick as I used to be, maybe on reflexes on the games, and you have to tell the enemy, look at the enemy when going to strike in a different way. I'm too slow nowadays. I'm getting old. I'm too slow. So
I hide behind the age as well.
I do that. No, but I don't know if that's a thing, because even playing older games that has like quick time events, I noticed I'm not as fast reacting to those things anymore like I used to be. I don't know, side note, but yeah, you should at least be able to choose the difficulty level, as you say. I think so.
Yeah, so tailor the experience to me, because I know John likes really hard games.
Not really, like Dark Souls. Never again.
Like the what was it called, Valfaris.
Valfaris. Yeah. That was super hard.
Yeah.
But, well, there was no easy difficulty in that game.
No, I lasted for 20 minutes. I got like 5 screens in. And I was like, no, not for me.
No. I one game that actually broke me, but in a good way, was Hades when they released that. I played that. That was hard. But I got better.
Enjoyable.
Got better and better and better, and I took a platinum trophy a couple of weeks ago.
Wow!
But that took like 80. Thank you. It took like 80 hours of my life or something like that. Worth it, completely worth it. But it was sometimes that challenge could be fun. But I think if it's a fair challenge, but sometimes it's way too difficult. And I'm a little bit like you, John. When I played like Final Fantasy Rebirth, for example, I played that on the easiest difficulty first time around, because I just wanted to experience the world and the story, and I'm so invested in that world because I played the original game when I was 15 or 16 like that. So I just want to have that, just enjoy it like a good movie or a good book, like that. And then I can return to it and have that difficult experience when I know how the system works, basically, and just because you can always choose that game. You can choose, you want to change in the middle of the game, you can have it on the hard difficulty, and then when you complete it, you unlock an even harder difficulty if you want it. But you can choose. It's up to you. You should always have that choice.
I did that on the first Final Fantasy remake.
Remake. Yeah.
I did played it through on the hardest difficulty. The hard.
Yeah. Cool.
And then when I switched to the PS5, like half of the trophies disappeared. And I restarted. So I was going for the platinum. I talked to you about it. Some of them. So I had reached max levels. But all my characters are already max level. So then I have to replay it from the beginning again, because a lot of achievements that didn't pop, just the trigger in the code for the trophy was already triggered, and it couldn't
Re-trigger, basically.
Re-trigger again. Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
I played Rebirth. I have to finish it. I got to the Canyon region.
Yeah, Cosmo Canyon.
Gongaga. Yeah, exactly. After Gongaga.
Oh yeah,
The
that one,
Gongaga region really sucked. Exactly.
It did.
Exactly.
I struggle. I did it, but I struggle with all the height differences and jumping on mushrooms and stuff like that.
Yeah, that was the first region I didn't 100% complete before moving on to the next one.
I tortured myself, but I did it. But
I did that too. I tortured myself just for the share of, I'm not a completionist, but I want to 90% it.
Yeah. But that's a huge game also. I think it took 90 hours for me to almost I have the last quest, like side quest to do. I completed the game, but the last side quest is really hard. You have to do a golden saucer, all the hardest, like top ranking in all the mini games and stuff. Like it's really, really hard. But that's a very good gaming experience. Otherwise. Yeah, and you have the challenge, as you say. If you want to have the challenge, it's there for you, and you can just enjoy it whatever you want. So
definitely.
I have to finish it.
Yeah,
I'm a huge Final Fantasy fan.
Yeah.
So, as I told John before, Final Fantasy 13 is the only Final Fantasy I've started to play, but never finished and never intend to finish.
Same here. Did you get to the open area and then stop?
Yep.
Yeah. Same here.
Yeah. Oh man.
So John said, it's linear for the first hours. About the first 40 or 50 hours.
Exactly.
It's a hallway simulator.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Some people say it's great. If you like it, you like it. But not my cup of tea.
Yeah. Justin, you have to come back for us and we have a Final Fantasy podcast just discussing Final Fantasy. I think.
And we'll save all the trash talk about
Final
Fantasy 13.
Yeah. But we should definitely have that as a topic just for a whole episode. Final Fantasy.
Definitely, we need a special.
Super cool. Cool.
So speaking of topics, I have not anything more to bring to the table here.
No, I think we wandered off pretty well from topic actually, but it happens in discussions.
So except for topics going back and forth and a lot, it's been super fun. And thank you, Justin, for coming.
Thank you for letting me join. It was really fun.
Yeah, you have to come back. That's amazing. You're very welcome. And it's as you said, John, it's a very relevant topic today because we're seeing we're going through a more digital, world, digital gaming world. And the companies want to scale back on the physical media, and it's harder to play older games. So it's very relevant, I think, today. Definitely, the way it looks. So it's a good topic. Yeah.
Yeah. So thank you guys for talking about this, and thank you, listeners.
Yeah.
Because, it's been totally awesome listening to these amazing gamers with their inputs, and, man, I could talk for hours.
Yeah, same here. But for maybe Final Fantasy for our next episode. We see what we decide, John.
Yeah, I'd love that.
Yeah, that'd be really
definitely
cool.
Yeah. Amazing. So thank you guys for listening in, and stay tuned for the next episode.
Yeah. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.